Welcome to the Living Centred podcast, a podcast all about learning together how to live lives which are centred on Jesus. Everyone lives centred on something. Our goal is to learn together how every area of our lives, everything about who we are and how we live, can be increasingly oriented around Jesus and transformed by Jesus. He invites us to a rich and satisfying life, where the good news that he truly is enough changes everything about how we relate to God, ourselves, and the world. In each episode, a different person shares about what it's looking like for them to seek to centre their life on Jesus right now. As we hear their stories, we get to learn together and to encourage one another in what it means for Jesus to be at the centre of our lives. This is a journey we are all invited to, and a conversation we all get to be a part of. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, my name's Adrian, and it is so good to welcome you to this week's episode of the Living Centred podcast. And it is my privilege to introduce today Mayuri.
Hello.
It is so good to see you, and you are going to be sharing this week with us, which is very good.
I am, yeah. It's quite exciting.
Yeah, well, I'm excited. To ease everyone in, we always start with the easy question, which is this. Could you tell us a bit about yourself, like who you are and what your life looks like at this point in time?
Sure. So I'm Mayuri. I moved to Birmingham about a year ago, just over, and I'm a mum to 2 kids, and I'm married to Kev, my husband of about 13 years now. And in terms of work, I work as a data analytics, or no longer a data analytics professional, actually an insight manager.
Wow.
Because I just got a promotion.
Amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you. So yeah, it's a bit of a weird getting my head round thing. And aside from that, I'm a professional coach, and I have a little self-employed business with that. And Kev and I own a creative arts company together where he does a lot of painting and I do quite a lot of line drawing. And then we sell that kind of stuff at craft fairs.
Wow.
So there's quite a bit in our lives.
Yeah, that's a breadth of stuff as well.
Yeah, and it's lovely. I don't think I could cope with not having variety in my life.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. That kind of gives you a quick impression of your life, which is amazing. Pretty, as I said, a breadth and pretty full, it would seem.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole load of questions I could ask, but to be disciplined, I'm not going to at this point.
Fair.
Rather, I want to jump in with the big question then. Within all of that then, that makes up your life, what does living centred on Jesus look like for you right now?
So here's the honest bit. We've just gone through a massive transition in life.
Yeah.
So even that aspect of my life in terms of living centred on Jesus is transitioning.
Yeah.
And so I recall years ago, I was quite disciplined. I did like Bible in a year and things like that. But right now is not the season where I can spend half an hour to an hour. I don't easily have half an hour to an hour uninterrupted time. So the pattern of that has completely changed. So it might be while I put my makeup on in the morning, the discipline of like just connecting with God is putting on Lectio 365 and praying through the podcast.
Yeah.
There's lots of different ways I try and connect with God, but fundamentally, I've just decided he is present. So if he is present, I can find him anytime.
Wow.
And that's the way I'm living at the moment.
I love that. He is present, therefore I can find him at any time.
Yeah.
I really like that. And as a quick kind of aside, just if you're listening, we'll put a quick note in the show notes about Lectio and how you too could listen to that. But I guess in that then, if that's what living centered in Jesus looks like at this point in time, which is totally right, like at different phases, it just looks different.
Yeah. God
doesn't change, we do.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess what's therefore helping you at this phase where you're saying it's like stealing these moments, it's knowing that, yep, he's always present. I've just got to remember him and just make time for him.
As I said, I'm a professional coach, so I hear words and they'll kind of hit me. So you just said like stealing these moments. And I think for me, I've had to work on telling myself I'm not stealing time. Actually, that I'm making time, I'm carving time, I'm choosing and I'm being intentional about it.
Yeah.
So that mindset of I need to be intentional about this does me good, that matters.
Yeah.
And if I go back to your question of like, what are the practices? What are the things that get me going? In that is I'm rediscovering things I used to do years ago. So part of the Lectio passage, usually right at the beginning, it says, I choose something along the lines of, I choose to bring my scattered senses to the presence of God.
Wow.
And you can kind of skim past that. And again, I said to you, like, I really focus on words and I tend to pick up on that. And so for me, I used to do a practice called 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 as I was stood at the train station. And it's a grounding technique. So you kind of come into your body and you remind yourself you're here and you become more present. So I've taken that practice and I've moved it to what does it look like for me to become present in my body, but become present on Jesus.
Yeah.
And so instead of saying, what 5 things can I see? It's, I'm right here and I'm bringing my gaze to you, Jesus.
Wow.
I'm right here and I'm looking for the taste of you, Jesus.
Yeah.
Where's your fragrance right now?
Yeah.
How can I sense your touch?
Yeah.
How am I hearing you?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that completely shifts. Like if I could be standing in the middle of my office, because I sometimes just do that when I need a moment, and I'll be sitting at the computer about to go into a call I'm nervous about. And that's what comes up for me. Like, how could I very quickly bring my focus on Jesus and invite him into this moment? That's only coming now. Like, as I said, it's not been an easy year in terms of that relationship with God. But those are the key things that are coming in. Like, just every day, in every moment, how can I just invite him in a little bit more than I have? And transformation is remarkable, to be honest.
Oh, that sounds so good. We are going to come on to transformation towards the end of the question, because otherwise I'm going to jump there. So we will do that, of how you're changing. But I think I just love that, of using that 5 senses technique of just directing it towards Jesus, but also loving the way you reframed it of, I'm not stealing time at this point, I'm making the time. And that making of time can be within a moment as I'm putting my makeup on. It could be in a moment as I'm just stood in the office, just thinking, right, in this moment. Or I'm about to make this call in this moment. I'm making the time just to see you, Jesus. Which I think, it's just incredibly liberating.
Yeah.
Because we can sometimes get locked into thinking, it's all about this extended time. Whereas there's just some seasons where that's just not possible.
Yeah, I was about to say, and I think there's something about the grace and the acceptance of what is the reality of your season. Because I went through a lot of time where I punished myself for not doing the disciplines as I thought I should.
Yeah.
And that obligation, that assumption that someone else's way of living centered on Jesus is the right thing for you in this time, in this season, in this way of living with God.
Yeah.
It's not. And then in the midst of all of that, I think what I'm realizing is also the community really matters. Like having a couple of WhatsApp groups and joining the Daily Devos group and just seeing some songs pop up, even if I don't have the time or the headphones at the time to listen to the thing, just remembering a lyric from a song. So like my season at the moment is living with a song called He Pulls Me Through, to the point that my son now shouts part of the bridge of it at the dinner table and asks us for it. So it's literally, he wasn't singing it at one point. He was just shouting, God is able. And like at full volume, imagine a 3-year-old filling the space up. But it was such a joy. And then there's moments like that, right? So like that privilege of bringing Jesus into a 3-year-old's world and being able to share this faith with them. Good example is I'm scared of the dark. He's looking out at winter's night and he's saying, the dark's a bit scary. Well, Jesus is the light and he can come and help you at any point, right? And it's really simple shifts, but it's now got to the point where, I think it was yesterday or the day before, I was telling the family, each one of them, I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. Yeah. And he said, well, Mummy, you need to tell yourself you love yourself too.
Wow.
I was like, okay, thank you, Jesus, for that reminder. Thank you, my son, for the reminder to me too. And it was profound, really. Like that moment of, I'm teaching him to be loved because he is loved by the creator of the universe. Yeah. And he's coming back.
And teaching you.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just beautiful. And that going like right back to the beginning where you're saying like, yep, God's present. I've just got to recognize his presence here now.
Yeah.
And it's those moments. It's like with others, it's with people. It's recognizing, like what you said of kind of practices or disciplines, that the danger is they become the thing that we feel like is the goal. They're only ever a vehicle to the goal, which is Jesus.
Yeah.
And so if it's something that's actually taking us away from him, it's then become something that's detrimental.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so much in there. I think it's really good. And I love that point of just your son just turning to you and say, but you've got to say you love yourself too. Just profound of like, really good. And so I guess in it then, what are you discovering about who God is at this moment? Like in respect to God being Father, Son and Spirit?
As I said right at the beginning, he's ever present.
Yeah.
And he doesn't change his mind about that. I think that's the key. Like we can go through seasons where we feel like we're not good enough, that our self-critical voice gets very loud, because mine did. And we can think we can't approach him with that, or that we're too much or not enough at the same time. You know, we all go through those seasons, right?
Yeah.
And then it's remembering, even when we're facing that, he is ever present and he is good and he is awesome and he lavishes his love upon us.
Wow.
And I think accepting that is incredibly difficult in a world that invites you to tell yourself how you could always keep improving.
Yeah.
And yes, in God, you can keep improving. As you go deeper and further into him, you keep improving.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm discovering about him. Like, as I go deeper into him, as I invite him into more and more of my life, and the more he comes into my life, the more colour there is in my life.
Yeah.
You know, in my coaching world, I talk about going from that black and white dull space to vibrant, abundant life.
Yes.
And some of that story actually comes from what Jesus has done in my life.
Wow.
For me, that idea of colour and brightness and joy and peace, when I am connected to him, and even when I invite him into the snippets of my life, there is more colour and there's more joy.
Oh, that's good. That's really, really good. Really good. Yeah, I think if you're listening to this, I think just hit pause for a moment and just recognize God is with you. His love, his affection, his joy, his goodness is towards you. Whatever you're facing, that's the reality of who he is. Just allow that wonder of what Mayuri has just shared to just go to the depths of your being. Final question. How are you changing through all of this? If we were to have met you, I don't know, 3, 6, 12 months ago, like what would Mayuri today look like compared to that one?
There's a few things that have changed, actually. A big one is the acceptance I carry towards myself has shifted massively. I went through a phase where even God couldn't penetrate my self-critical voice. And so it's taken work and it's taken persistence. And obviously, when you are that self-critical of yourself, it seeps into a lot of your other life. So you become self-critical of your family and your friends, and you don't even know you're doing it. Yeah. Right? So I've gone through therapy and things like that as a result of that. Looking back where I was a year ago to where I am now, I'm far more accepting of things. Mostly because I've understood that I am accepted.
Wow.
Until I think I accepted that I was accepted, for want of a better phrase, that voice could stay loud.
Yeah. It's powerful. Really powerful. Yeah.
So that's probably the biggest change. And then that process of just inviting God into the snippets. Like, I'm mum to a 3-year-old and your 1-year-old, and sometimes they really, really frustrate you because they won't do something you want them to do. And taking a moment to take a breath and say, Jesus, I need your help. That wasn't happening a few months ago, but it is now, and it makes a difference. Yeah. So that's me.
Oh, heart is full. That's what I can say. As always, my heart is full. Thank you, Mayuri, for sharing so much. Apologies for butchering your name throughout, as I continuously keep trying to say it correctly.
No. I just smile because you're saying it closer than most people ever do.
I'm trying.
And I'm laughing only because please never say this to my face. I will say it out loud right now. The worst butchering of my name was when I got called Mayuri.
No. Well, I've not got there.
No,
but, no. I've not done that. Oh, it's been a joy to hear you sharing, and it has done my heart so much good. I know for me, I think I'm going to be considering just taking moments for those 5 sense moments of just, using my senses and saying, okay, Jesus, I want to apply in this moment now to be present through all of my senses with you. And I think that's what I'm going to be seeking to do over this coming week. Turning the tables, how about you listening friends? Yes, you. What are you going to be doing differently over the coming week out of the beauty and wonder of all Mayuri has shared with us? What are you going to be considering? And then lastly, I just want to thank you for listening, and I want to pray for each and every one of us. I pray we would know more of the wonder of living centered on Jesus this coming week. Amen.
Thanks for joining us on this week's episode of the Living Centered podcast. New episodes are released every Monday, and if you enjoyed this episode, please do like and subscribe on your chosen podcast provider to receive them direct each week. Living Centered is produced by the team at Oasis Church in Birmingham, UK, and you can find out more and get in touch with the team via theoasischurch.com.